The Carter House in Franklin, Tennessee has plenty of reasons to be haunted. The structure was built in 1830 by Fountain Branch Carter and became the centerpiece of one of the most brutal battles in Civil War, a battle in which nearly the entire army of Tennessee was destroyed.
The small town of Franklin had been a Union military post since the fall of Nashville in early 1862. Late in the summer of 1864, Confederate President Jefferson Davis placed General John Bell Hood in charge of the Army of Tennessee.
Hood immediately began to formulate a plan to drive the Union Army away from Atlanta and Robert E. Lee's forces.
Under Hood's command, the Army of Tennessee moved north through Georgia, Alabama, and then into Columbia, Tennessee, flanking the Union forces. They forced the Yankees, under the command of General Schofield, to flee. Somehow, under the cover of night, Schofield was able to slip past Hood and move further north into Franklin, Tennessee.
As the Yankees arrived in Franklin, General Cox commandeered the Carter House as a command post.
The Carter family was pulled out of their beds in the middle of the night, only to watch, helpless, as the Union troops moved in and fortified their position.
Hood was determined to destroy the Union Army before it reached Nashville. The Army of Tennessee knew the assault on the town of Franklin would be suicidal, but they bravely advanced toward the town and the Carter House with their heads held high.
In the late afternoon of November 30th, 1864, Hood's men charged the Federal troops. The Carter family took refuge in the basement. 23 men, women, and children, many under the age of 12, were safely protected while the sounds of war erupted above them. The fighting was brutal and fiendishly savage. Men were bayoneted and clubbed to death in the back of the Carter yard. Soldiers were clawing and punching and stabbing and choking each other to death. The smoke from the cannons and guns was so thick that they couldn't tell friends from foe. After only a few hours of battle, Hood had already lost 6,200 men. By dawn the next day, Schofield had lost over 2,300 men.
The land around the Carter House became a human slaughtering pen. It was such a bad situation that the Battle of Franklin has been called the bloodiest hours of the American Civil War and is known as the Gettysburg of the West.
It was one of the few night battles in the war between the states, and also one of the smallest battlefields, only 2 miles long and 1.5 miles wide.
After it was all over, the Carter family left their basement to receive some very bad news. A son, Todd Carter, had been with the Confederate troops in the assault. He was lying somewhere on the battlefield with thousands of other soldiers who were wounded, dead, or dying. After intensely searching, he finally found Todd. The boy had only been 100 yards away from the house when he had been hit. The family carried Todd into the house and placed him in a first-floor bedroom. He was tended to for 2 days, but unfortunately died from his injuries.
The Carter House was opened to the public for tours in 1953, operating as a historic landmark, a museum to the Battle of Franklin.
Despite the heavy traffic, visitors and staff have reported many paranormal events. Poltergeist occurrences happen often in the house and are attributed to Annie Carter, one of Todd's sisters.
So Annie apparently stays pretty busy in the house. There was a tour guide doing a tour one time, and there was a little girl in the tour that started pointing behind the tour guide, and they turned around and everybody saw that there was a statue hopping up and down on the shelf. And other people have seen things appear and disappear, and a lot of people visiting the house will feel like something about the height of a child tugging on their clothes.
Some staff members even claim to have seen some apparitions as well. The most common is that of a little girl who wanders through an upstairs hallway and travels up and down the staircase. Others have reported hearing the soothing voice of a woman when no one else is in the house.
Not surprisingly, Todd Carter also makes appearances in the house, usually tied to the bedroom in which he died. A recent visitor was looking into the bedroom when he saw Todd's apparition sitting on the side of the bed. He was visible for only a few moments before he disappeared.
With so much death tied to the Carter house, you're sure to experience some sort of paranormal activity while visiting the property.